What's up you guys, and welcome back to a Reddit reading video. Today we're going to be doing r/ProRevenge, one of my favorite subreddits of all time, probably my second favorite after r/Melissa's Compliance, honestly. This one's going to be a doozy, I can tell. It's gilded, 1.3k upvotes. I have not read this yet, so this is the first time I'm going to be reading it. We're going to be like listening to it together, so this is going to be great. I ruined the life of a man who molested me for 3 years. This is a throwaway account simply due to the fact that I have friends who know my account name and are unaware of the current issues in my personal life. I would also like to apologize if I am all over the place with my storytelling. I am not very good at this, and there's a lot to put in one post. I understand that this is not a light subject matter, and I would like to consider that it's my official trigger warning for any survivors of sexual assault/abuse. Part of the reason I am writing this post is a form of therapy, and a chance to feel more in control of my life than I currently am, so bear with me. In order to understand the reasoning behind the revenge, I need to start at the beginning. I was born into a family of very well off. I had a great childhood, with 5 siblings, and I was practically a trust fund baby. This was up until around 8 years old, when my parents divorced for a number of reasons, which I will not get into. Long story short, my dad left my mother on her own to take care of 6 kids all on her own, ranging from 6 years old to a 19-year-old. She was of course vulnerable at this time in her life, and in need of someone to help her out. Anyone would have felt the same in her position. So in walks this guy, let's call him Satan. Satan was an amazing person at first. He was a strong parental role and didn't mind the duty of 6 children along with a huge house to live in. Seeing as how he was only a waiter at a restaurant, he was glad to feel like the boss somewhere. My mom relied on him a lot during the first few months of the relationship, which led to her trusting him a bit too much and opening up my family up to problems. Satan is what most consider completely freaking insane. Each week he was convinced of some new conspiracy theory and always dragged my family into it. He was a doomsday prepper and made my family and I stockpile food months ahead of time, along with things like training us on how to quickly load and unload guns when I was only 9 years old. Now while my older sibling could see clear as day that Satan was insane, my mother and other siblings close to my age completely trusted him. The 2 older siblings were even kicked out before graduation and ended up not speaking with my mother for years. I can't really blame them, but I wouldn't blame my mother either, seeing as how mentally manipulative Satan could be. We all felt as though he was a lifeline to us, and without him, we would die. Because my parents divorced, my mother was left to sell a mansion of a house, which during 2010 or so obviously didn't go over well. We were struggling financially, big time. Satan had my siblings and mother convinced that he was our only financial support and that leaving him would result in being on the street, because he had to cut off the rest of our family from speaking to us, because they saw how insane he was. We all believed it. Now I won't get into too much detail about my abuse at this moment, but I'll let you know that Satan began molesting me just a few months after I had turned 10 years old. There is no easy way to put this, but I was terrified. All I knew was that what was happening was wrong and that me saying something meant I would be homeless. I thought I was protecting both myself and my family, so I let it continue. And for any victim blaming a-holes out there who might after a 10-year-old girl, anytime I didn't comply, I was forced into what was basically solitary confinement. I would sit and stare at a blank wall for days on end with only peanut butter and jelly sandwiches to eat and water to drink. CPS was called once, but the investigation was unrelated to this and didn't go very far. My mother was told I was being grounded for other reasons and even thought I might be being molested, but I went as far as denying it in fear of what could happen to us. My siblings and I switched schools way too often for me to make any real friends, and during the final years of my abuse, we had moved out of state. I never had a phone or any way of contacting anyone to help me out with my situation. I was alone and nobody knew. My life was a living HE double hockey sticks. The sexual abuse continued for 3 years until my mother finally gathered the courage and hid enough money to escape. This would seem simple enough, but it wasn't a clean cut. In 2011, my mother had given birth to my baby sister and his daughter. We will call her Angel. The first day was spent moving into a house that my aunt and mother had reconnected with, and terrifyingly enough, within 24 hours, we moved back in with Satan. This is just an example of how insane the entire situation was. And though it was slow going at first, eventually we officially split from him and moved far away. But because my baby sister was there, despite us leaving Satan, he would always be around. Now though Angel was the daughter of Satan himself, I loved her and still love her to this day, more than anyone or anything, and have always been torn for this reason. I understand my selfishness and staying quiet, but I had my reasons. From wanting her to have a normal life, to her being his own bloodline, while I was not. I came up with a million excuses, but the gist of it was I was scared. I had no evidence, and I didn't want her to hate me for being the reason she didn't have a dad. Satan went on to be a trucker and now has a girlfriend of about 5 years. Because of this, he only has the opportunity to see Angel a few times a year for less than 24 hours at a time, And when he does see Angel, always in his truck, within feet of his girlfriend, or out in public. I use this as justification for not saying anything to anyone as well. And I do not need to be told how selfish it was to put her at risk, because I understand and I have suffered the guilt in all these years. This is where the revenge part comes in. Thank you for being patient. Angel is now 8. I'm 19 and Satan is 50. Angel understands how insane her dad is, but loves him nonetheless. And up until this point, he has stayed far away from my family. Angel and I are as close as two people can be. Angel confided in me a few weeks ago that her dad wanted to take her for a week or two down to Florida, hundreds of miles away. This was a no-go. I was scared of what would happen, but I knew that taking this risk would make me worse than him. It took a lot of courage, but I knew it had to be done. So I went to my mom that night and told her what happened all those years ago. It went about as well as I expected, and after about 12 hours of crying, her and I went to protection mode. My mother and Satan have never had custody disagreements and have always been on good terms for Angel's sake, despite his mentally abusive tendency. Despite this, she had stockpiled years of text and recording in case she passed, and he had attempted to gain full custody of Angel. She spoke with her attorney, and within a few days, we went down to the sheriff's office of the counties where the sexual assault occurred. Now yes, I did type counties because if you remember earlier, I said that we had moved during the time that the sexual abuse was occurring. This meant that I could file in multiple counties, making the case stronger. While one county was a case of sexual assault of a minor, the other was rape case due to the nature of the molestation. As well as this, due to the age I was during the molestation and its severity, it is not being disregarded. We asked that the detectives from each county wait for a week or so in order for my mothers and I to serve protection restraining order against Satan, and they agreed. This protects me and my mother and anyone in our household from him, from the moment he is served and before he is even aware that we have filed against him. Along with the fact that there are no custody disagreements over Angel for Satan to claim my accusations were fake, my mother and I were able to reach out to the other girls we suspected of being victims of him as well. Now there's a second girl willing to testify. I just finished my affidavit and have given my written statement about everything that has ever been done to me, which over the course of 3 years was a lot considering it was a daily occurrence. I came in to feel better knowing that at the very least, he would not be allowed to see Angel again without supervision. And this is even if the case does not go as planned due to the text/recording show his insanity. Though my hope is that he will go to jail for a long time, this is the least I can ask for and will take what I can get for her safety. The only worry there is that he could become a martyr. He will be served within the next few days, and knowing him and his paranoia, he won't see this because he's afraid of the internet. Angel will be seeing my family therapist, whose job is to make sure she was never hurt while not putting ideas into her mind. I feel proud myself because in spite of everything that happened, he's a truck driver with a miserable life that's about to get worse. On the other hand, I graduated in top 5% of my class and am now an engineering student, currently debt-free due to scholarships and my savings, with a close group of friends and a boyfriend of 2.5 years. My family has since reconnected with everything in his life that he damaged is now better in the lack of his presence. My half-sister loves me more than she ever will love him. As far as I see it, I have won. He has lost. Just a disclaimer, please don't tell me what a horrible sister I am. Anything you say, I have already told myself over the years. I don't know what else to say, but that I wish I knew earlier that everything could turn out okay. TLDR, I have finally served the man who molested me for 3 years and have destroyed what's left of his pathetic life. Oh man, that story was a doozy. Honestly, that's probably the saddest story I have read out loud in any of these posts. That's really sad to read. The top comment said, "This is the bravest yet most heartbreaking post I've read so far. My thoughts are with you. Best of luck for the future, OP." Yeah, that kind of hurts to read. Like, it sucks that happened to her for so many years, but it's good that she's finally, stepping up so that her half-sister won't have to be molested like she was. When she was a kid, she felt like she was doing the right thing by saving her family from not living on the streets. But while doing that was being just totally abused into the ground and used up, which sucks for her case, but she says the little girl does have therapy, and hopefully she does too. Just so I don't leave you guys on the saddest story in history and just run out of here, let's read one more short story that's not as depressing. Chef leaves all his notes, almost kills the business. At the restaurant I used to work at, there was a chef who made the best gumbo I have ever had. However, the management where I worked was awful. The only employees who stayed for very long were the ones who were paid well, e.g. Mr. Gumbo. Customers knew him by name. The only day he called in sick, which he had never done before, and they didn't let him. He had enough and quit. But he also burned a few bridges. He took all his notes, which had ratios, spices, times and temperatures, everything. We had no idea how to make his gumbo. They tasked me with recreating it. When it was nowhere near as good, Most of the gumbo customers, which was a lot of them, left. I quit shortly after. From what I heard from my friends who still worked there, the business almost went under. This was his way of making the management pay. Sorry for spelling and formatting. Edit to start, we aren't in the South. This was a smaller place, but it was still good size. The menu wasn't that big, so the gumbo was very important. The chef did have every right to leave, but by doing so, the business lost most of its valuable assets. That is how the gumbo man got back at the management. Good job, gumbo man. I feel you so hard on that. That reminds me so much of Walmart. Like, you have 5 days out of the year. If you're sick, to stay home. If you're late, if you call in and you can't come to work today, anything, if you get in trouble, everything counts as 1 point. If you get 5 points, you're out. You automatically fired. So if you're sick 5 days in a row, you're automatically fired. I can't tell you how many days I had to go in just deathly sick, throwing up in the bathroom, and the only way that it doesn't count as a point is if they send you home. So I would just be, so sick and throwing up, and then they would send you home. It's a shame that you have to do that in some places. But thank you guys so much for watching this Reddit reading videos from r/ProRevenge. I know that first story was a doozy. Hopefully this second story lightened it up just a little bit. I know it was really short. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any suggestions for topics you want me to cover, just let me know. If you have any opinions about these stories, just let me know down in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching, guys. Love you guys. I'll see you next time, my lovelies.